Hello everyone, my name is Vaishnavi. I am from VVIT College Guntur and now I am going to explain about quantum mechanics. Firstly, it is the study of process which occurs at the atomic scale or atom. The, the word quantum is derived from Latin word which means bundle, and the small energy bundles which are in the motion are known as quanta. And these tiny bundles that we are referring to are electrons traveling around the nucleus. Firstly, what is wave and particle nature? Firstly, we are talking about particle nature. A particle, it has mass, it is located at some definite point, and it can move from one place to another place, and it can also give energy when slowed down or stopped. From the above lines, we can say that a, part, a particle has mass, velocity, momentum, and also energy. And when coming to waves, a wave is spread out over a relatively large region of space. It is hard to think of mass being associated with waves. Actually, if if a disturbance is created in medium, waves are produced. So for example, let us take an for example, let us throw a small stone in water, then so many waves are produced around the stone where we throw. That means we created some disturbance using the stone, then waves are produced. So from the above statements we can say that waves have frequency, wavelength, phase or wave velocity, and amplitude and also intensity. And now, coming to this, radiation has dual nature, both wave and particle natures. Ra- Now, radiations including visible light, infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, etc., behaves as waves in experiments based on interference, diffraction, etc. In these experiments, interference and diffractions, these radiations including visible light, infrared, ultraviolet, acts as waves. And we also can say that two waves can present at the same position at the same time. This is due to the fact that these phenomena requires the presence of two waves at the same position and at the same time. So, thus we conclude that radiations behave like wave. Now, coming to this, black body radiation and photoelectric effect and Compton effect these three are explained by Planck's quantum theory. And we can also say that two particles can't present at same position at the same time. Here radiation interacts with matter in the form of photons or quanta. Thus we can conclude that radiation behaves like particle. So it sometimes behaves like particle and sometimes behaves like waves. So we can also call it as wave particle dualism. But it can't simultaneously behave as particles and as well as waves. Now, coming to this page, waves and particles. Waves spread in space and time. They have wavelength, frequency, can be superposed, shows interference effects, and pass through each other also. Now, particles can't passes through each other. They bounce or shatter. Now, we want to find an expression for wavelength of matter waves. We all know that here we consider photon Here we consider photon in radiation. According to the photon consideration, an electromagnetic wave is associated with photon, where the photon is controlled by a wave. And according to Planck's relation, we know that E equals to h nu. And by Einstein's theory, we know that particle of mass is equivalent to the energy mc square, that is equals to mc square. Here E equal to h nu is related to waves and E equals to mc square is related to the particles. So we are finding the wavelength of matter wave. Wavelength is a property of waves and matter waves are particles. So by equalizing these both E equal to h nu and E equal to mc square, we will get h nu equals to mc square. We all know that nu equals to c by lambda. So by substituting that, we will get h nu, we will get that h nu equals to pc. So p, and we all know that c equals to v lambda. So by substituting this, we will get lambda equals to h by p, and where p is mass into velocity, p equals to momentum. So lambda equals to h by v. Now, if the particle is accelerated through kinetic energy Ek, so Ek equals to half mv square. And by multiplying and dividing with m, we will get m square v square by 2m. Where mv equals to p, we can write it as p square by 2m. So we can write it as p is equals to root of 2m Ek. Substitute this in lambda equals to h by p. We will get lambda equals to h by root of 2m Ek. So this is the wavelength of de Broglie equation in terms of kinetic energy. Now, if the particle is accelerated with the help of electrostatic energy, then we will consider the kinetic energy as Ek equals to qv, and where v is the accelerating potential. So we will get by the momentum of the particle can be given as p is equals to root of 2m qv, and we will substitute this in lambda equal to h by p. We will get lambda equal to h by root of 2m qe. This is another equation in terms of charge. And now, when a particle is accelerated with the help of thermal energy, its kinetic energy can be written as Ek equals to 3 by 2 kT, where K is Boltzmann's constant. Its value is 1.38 into 10 power minus 23 J by K, and T is absolute temperature. The momentum of the particle will be given as, by substituting this in Ek, in p is equals to root of 2m Ek, we will get p is equals to root of 3m kt. So by substituting this in lambda equals to h by p, we will get lambda equals to h by root of 3m kt, which is in terms of temperature. And now, when a particle is moving with a velocity comparable of that of light, then the mass of the particle no longer remains constant. It will vary according to the following equation. From the above statement, we will get m is equals to m naught by root of 1 minus v square by c square, where m is the mass of particle during motion and m naught is the rest mass of particle, and v is velocity of particle, and c is velocity of light. And now by substituting this in lambda equals to h by mv, we know the formula lambda equal to h by mv. By substituting m value here, we will get lambda equals to h into root of 1 minus v square by c square whole divided by m naught into v. And now, de Broglie wavelength is associated with electron. Let us consider an electron of rest mass m naught and charge E accelerated by the potential difference V. The kinetic energy of the electron can be given as, we know kinetic energy equals to half mv square. In this case, we can write it as EV. So half mv square equals to ev. Hence hence by solving this, m naught v square equal to 2 ev and v square equal to 2 ev by m naught, and v is equals to root of 2 ev by m naught. Thus, de Broglie wavelength associated with electron can be given as, we know that lambda equal to h by m naught mv, and by substituting v value in this equation we will get lambda equals to h into root of m naught by m naught into root of 2 ev. Now here h is Planck's constant, where the value of Planck's constant is 6.625 into 10 power minus 34 joule seconds. And we have all the constant values for this is for electron. We have the values where E value is 9.1 into 10 power minus 31, mass is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19. By substituting these values and by substituting h value, we will get lambda equals to 12.26 by root v angstroms. Next, discussing about properties of matter waves. We know the formula lambda equal to h by p equals to h by mv. So from this formula we can say that if lighter is the particle, greater is the wavelength associated with it. If mass of the particle is low, then wavelength is high. If the mass of the particle is high, wavelength is low. That means inversely proportional. Next, smaller is the velocity of the particle and greater is the wavelength associated with it. And if the same like mass, if velocity is low, wavelength is high, and if velocity is high, wavelength is low. And now if v equal to 0, that means h by 0, it will give us infinity. That implies lambda equals to infinity. And also if v equals to infinity, then lambda equals to 0. This shows that matter waves are generated by the motion of particles. These waves are produced whether the particles are charged particles or they are uncharged. And we also know that these waves are not electromagnetic waves, but they are a new kind of waves. And velocity of the matter waves depends on the velocity of material particle. And finally, the velocity of matter wave is greater than the velocity of light. And now, the wave and particle aspects of moving bodies can never appear together in same experiment. Thus, we can say that waves have particles-like properties and particles have waves-like properties. And matter wave representation is only symbolic representation. And now we'll see about the detection of matter waves. Firstly, what is a matter wave? A wave associated with the motion of a material particle is known as a matter wave. Simply, we can say that if a particle is associated with a wave, it can said to be a matter wave. These matter waves are generated by both microscopic and macroscopic particles, but the wavelength of matter waves associated with macroscopic bodies are so small, so we can't even detect it by an instrument. Up to 1924, the electron was only regarded as a particle, but after the explanations and experiments of de Broglie, the electron was given by the wave-particle duality. So we have many experiments which are proving that electron is a particle and it has definite mass, charge, and energy and momentum. And now, at the same time, there are many experiments which prove that electron has wave nature as well. That is, wave is associated with the electron during its motion. The following experiments will prove the wave nature of electrons. These experiments are Davison and German diffraction experiment and G.P. Thomson experiment. First, we will see Davison and German diffraction experiment. It is the first experimental evidence of matter wave was given by two American physicists, Davison and German, in 1927. Here we can see the experimental diagram of Davison and German diffraction experiment. Now here we can observe four graphs indicating the incident beam. First one indicates incident beam at 44 volts, second one indicates incident beam at 48 volts, and third one shows incident beam at 54 volts, and the fourth one shows incident beam at 60 volts. The Faraday cylinder was moved on the circular scale and for a given accelerating voltage V. This is the and now the scattering curve shows a peak in a particular direction. Now, with the electron beam incident perpendicular to the crystal surface, the pronounced scattering direction was found to be 50 degrees for electrons accelerates at 54 volts. So, we can say that every particle will get accelerated by voltage. And according to de Broglie, we know that lambda equals to 1 to 12.26 by root V, where V is voltage. By substituting V as 54, we will get lambda equals to 1.67 angstroms. This lambda equals to 1.67 we obtain according to de Broglie relation. Now we will see the diagram here. These are the atoms arranged, and A is the distance between two neighboring atoms, and the D is distance between two planes, between two planes, and we can see that incident ray there. And now from X-ray analysis, it is known that the nickel crystals act as a plane diffraction grating with grating speed d is equal to 0.909 into 10 power minus 10 meters. Now we get that grating speed d is 0.909 into 10 power minus 10 meter. And we also have diffraction electron beam at an angle 50. So the corresponding Bragg's angle theta is 180 minus 50 by 2 equals to 65, and by using Bragg's formula, we know that the Bragg's formula is 2d sin theta equals to n lambda, and by substituting all the values like d is equal to 0.909 into 10 power minus 10 meter, and theta value is 65 degrees, and n equals to 1, and we'll find lambda. We'll get lambda as lambda equals to 1.65 into 10 power minus 10 meters. That implies by converting meters into angstroms, we'll get 1.65 angstroms. So according to de Broglie's equation and also according to Bragg's equation, we get lambda equals to same value approximately. And now, as the two values are in good arrangement, hence confirms the de Broglie concept of matter waves. Next we will see G.P. Thomson experiment. This experiment G.P. Thomson performed this experiment with electrons accelerated from 10,000 to 50,000 volts, and in his experiment he observed diffraction patterns exactly similar to X-ray patterns. Here we can observe that he observed that diffraction and both diffraction and X-ray patterns are similar, and moreover he was able to determine the wavelength associated with electrons. And this experiment supported the concept of matter waves also, since the diffraction pattern is possible only if the waves are associated with material particle. Here he is saying that the diffraction pattern is only possible if the waves are associated with material particles only. Next, here we can see the experimental arrangement of G.P. Thomson experiment, and we can see there the cathode tube, and this is gold foil, and here we can see photographic plate. And after developing the plate, a symmetrical pattern consisting of concentric rings about a central point is obtained. This pattern is similar as produced by X-rays. Actually, this pattern is due to the electron diffraction. So we can say that diffraction pattern here produced is similar to the X-ray pattern produced by X-ray. Next, in order to make sure that this pattern is due to electron and not due to X-rays, for this he applied a magnetic field on the path of electron beam in the discharge tube, and a shift in the electron beam direction has been observed with the applied magnetic field. He observes some shift in electron beam direction by applying magnetic field. It shows that the pattern is produced by electrons and not by X-rays. So finally we can say that the pattern which is produced by electrons and not by X-rays, as X-rays pattern is not affected by electric and magnetic fields. Here we know that X-ray patterns are not affected by electric and magnetic field, but in this experiment there is a shift in electron beam direction. So we can finally consider that this pattern is produced by electrons and not X-rays and not by X-rays. The observed rings can be interpreted only by considering the diffraction pattern of the electron beam, which is due to the gold and aluminum foil. As the diffraction pattern can only be produced by waves and not by the particles. And we also know that the diffraction particle is only produced by waves and not by particles. So Thomson concluded that the electrons behaves like waves. So this is the conclusion of G.P. Thomson experiment. And now we'll see the conclusion from the experiment. First one is, Thomson experiment clearly demonstrated that existence of matter waves because of diffraction pattern can be produced by the waves. So this is very clear. And the second one is, Thomson calculated the wavelength associated with electron with the help of diffraction rings. And the third one is, the calculated wavelengths obtained by diffraction patterns agree well with the wavelengths obtained by de Broglie relation. Here the wavelength obtained by de Broglie relation are approximately equals to the calculated wavelengths obtained by diffraction patterns. And the fourth one is, the associated wavelength depends only on the accelerating voltage and is independent of the material of the target. Now, Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. What is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? We know that due to the dual nature of material particles, it is very difficult to locate the exact position and the momentum of the particle simultaneously. If we know that momentum formula is mass into velocity, and if a particle has velocity, we can't detect its position. And if a particle has exact position, the velocity becomes 0, then we can't detect its momentum. So, according to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, we can say that we can't detect the exact position and the momentum of the particle simultaneously, but we can detect it separately. And now it is explained by Heisenberg in 1927 through his uncertainty principle. Now, to understand the uncertainty in the measurement of position and momentum of microscopic particles, let us consider examples of narrow and wide wave packets. First one is of narrow wave packet. The position of particle can be precisely determined but not the wavelength, because As a result, the particle's momentum cannot be measured accurately as there are not enough waves to exactly measure the wavelength. Here we can't detect the wavelength, but we can determine the position of the particle accurately. And now we'll see the wider wave packet. The wavelength can be determined, but position of the particle will be uncertain due to the large width of the wave packet. So hence we can say that it is impossible to simultaneously detect the exact position and exact momentum of the particle. If we can detect the position, we can't detect the momentum as its velocity is 0. If we detect the momentum, we can't detect its position as it is in motion. So this is the conclusion of this wave packets. And now we can say that according to Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, it is not possible to simultaneously measure the position and momentum of a particle to any desired degree of accuracy. In other words, we can also say that the product of uncertainty in measurement of position and uncertainty in measurement of momentum is always constant, and it is at least equal to Planck's constant, that is where uncertainty in position is delta x and uncertainty in momentum is delta p. So delta x into delta p is equals to h. But it has been experimentally observed that the product of uncertainties in position and momentum is equal to or greater than h by 4 pi. That is delta p into delta x greater than or equal to h by 4 pi. So this is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Now let us discuss about Schrödinger time independent wave equation. Consider an equation which is a classical differential equation. Dou square psi by dou t square is equals to v square del square psi, where del square is equals to dou square by dou x square plus dou square by dou y square plus dou square by dou z square. And psi is wave function and where t is time. Psi of r comma t is equals to psi of r into e power minus I omega t. Let us consider this equation and differentiate this equation with respect to t. We will get dou psi by dou t is equals to dou psi by dou t is equal to psi of r into e power minus I omega t into minus I omega, where psi of r is constant and dou psi by dou t is equals to minus psi of r into I omega e power minus I omega t. And we will differentiate this equation again with respect to t. We will get dou square psi by dou t square is equals to I square omega square psi of r into e power minus I omega t. Now we know that I square equals to minus 1, so we can write it as dou square psi by dou t square is equals to minus omega square psi of r into e power minus omega t. Let us consider psi of r as psi for our simplification, and we'll write it as dou square psi by dou t square is equals to minus omega square psi. And we also know that from the above equation, psi of r comma t is equals to psi of r into e power minus omega t. And now by differentiating we got dou square psi by dou t square is equals to minus omega square into psi of r into e power minus omega t. From these two equations, we can write it as dou square psi by dou t square is equals to minus omega square into psi of r comma t. Now, and from the classical differential equation, we know that dou square psi by dou t square is equals to v square into del square psi. So we can write it as v square into del square psi is equals to minus omega square psi of r comma t. And now by dividing v square on both sides, we get dou square psi into del square psi is equals to minus omega square by v square into psi of r comma t. Now we know that omega is equals to 2 pi into nu, where omega is angular velocity of electron, and we know that nu equal to c by lambda. That implies omega equal to 2 pi into c by lambda, and we can write in v in place of c, so omega equal to 2 pi into v by lambda. That implies omega by v is equals to 2 pi by lambda. By squaring this, omega square by v square is equals to 4 pi square by lambda square. So by substituting this in the above equation, we will get del square psi is equals to minus 4 pi square by lambda square into psi of r comma t. And we can also write this equation as del square psi plus 4 pi square by lambda square into psi of r comma t equals to 0, where lambda is de Broglie wavelength. So lambda equals to h by mv. That implies lambda square equal to h square by m square v square. And by writing it in reciprocal, we get 1 by lambda square equal to m square v square by h square. And by substituting this 1 by lambda square value in the above one, we will get del square psi is equals to 4 pi square into m square v square by h square into psi of r comma t equals to 0. And we know that total energy is equals to kinetic energy plus potential energy, where kinetic energy is equals to half mv square, and we'll consider potential energy as v, and E is equals to half mv square plus v. E minus v is equals to half mv square, where capital E is total energy. And by multiplying and dividing with m, we will get E minus v is equals to half into m square v square by m. So by multiplying 2m, we will get 2m into E minus v is equals to m square v square. So by substituting this in the equation, we will get del square psi plus 4 pi square h square. Del square psi plus 2m by h cross square into E minus v into psi of r comma t equals to 0, where this is the Schrödinger time independent wave equation, where h cross equals to h by 2 pi and 1 by h cross square equal to 4 pi square h square. And now we will discuss about Schrödinger time dependent wave equation. Let us consider the same classical differential equation, dou square psi by dou t square equal to v square del square psi, and we know that psi of r comma t equal to psi naught of r into e power minus I omega t. And differentiating this equation with respect to t, we will get dou psi by dou t equals to minus I omega into psi naught of r into e power minus I omega t. And now dou psi by dou t equals to minus I omega psi of r comma t. We know that omega equals to 2 pi nu, where e equals to h nu and u equals to h by e. So we will substitute this in omega. So we will get omega equal to 2 pi into e by h, and we will substitute this omega value in the differential equation. We will get dou psi by dou t equals to minus I into 2 pi into e by h into psi of r comma t. Now dou psi by dou t equals to minus I 2 pi into e by h into psi of r comma t into I by I. Will in this equation we divide with I and multiplied with I. And now I into I equals to I square, we will get I square equals to minus 1, and minus into minus equals to plus. Now dou psi by dou t equals to 2 pi into e by h I into psi of r comma t. And dou psi by dou t equals to e by h cross I into psi of r comma t, where h cross equals to h by 2 pi. and 1 by h cross equal to 2 pi by h. And for Schrodinger time dependent wave equation, del square psi plus 2m by h cross square into e minus v of psi equals to 0. And if we multiply this psi, we multiply this psi into the bracket, we'll get dou square psi plus 2m by h cross square into e psi minus v psi equals to 0. And from the above equation, we'll write the e psi value here, that is dou square, that is e psi equals to I h cross into dou psi by dou t. We'll write this value in this equation, dou square psi plus 2m by h cross square into I h cross dou psi by dou t minus v psi equals to 0. And we'll get like this, del square psi equals to minus 2m by h cross square into I h cross dou psi by dou t minus v psi, and minus h cross square by 2m into del square psi is equal to I h cross dou psi by dou t minus v psi. And finally we'll get minus h cross square by 2m into del square plus v into psi equals to I h cross dou psi by dou t. And consider minus h cross square by 2m into del square plus v is equals to h. Then we'll get h psi equals to e psi, which is Schrodinger time dependent wave equation. And now we'll discuss about particle in one-dimensional potential box. If a particle is present inside the limits 0 and L, then the potential is considered as 0. And the particle has only kinetic motion. So V of x equals to 0 in between the limit 0 less than x less than L. And if a particle is present on the boundary line or beyond the boundary lines, the potential is considered as infinity. That implies the potential V of x equals to infinity if x less than or equals to 0, and V of x is equals to infinity if x greater than or equals to L. Consider the Schrodinger time dependent wave equation. Del square psi plus 2m by h cross square into e minus v of psi equals to 0. As it is one-dimensional, d square psi by dt square plus 2m by h cross square into e minus v psi equal to 0. Here, as it is one-dimensional potential box, del square, we'll consider del square equal to d square by dt square. So d square psi by dt square plus 2m into h cross square into e minus 0 into psi equal to 0 in 0 less than x less than L. The potential cannot exist outside the box, and so if wave function psi is 0 for it is x equals 0 and x equals to L. And now we'll get d square psi by dt square plus k square psi equals to 0 in the limit 0 less than x less than L, where k square equals to 2m e by h cross square that equals to 2m e by h square by 4 pi square, that equals to 8 pi square m e by h square. The general solution of above equation is psi of x equals to a sin kx plus b cot kx, where a, b are cos kx, where a and b are arbitrary constants, and psi of x equal to 0. Let us assume that psi of x equal to 0 at x equal to 0, and hence b is equals to 0. Now if psi of x equal to 0 at x equals to L, and now we'll get sin kl equal to 0 and kl equals to n by n, k equals to n pi by L. And now psi n of x equal to a into sin n pi x by L, and with the value of a in the above equation can be obtained by applying normalization condition. Since the particle is inside the box of length L, the probability that the particle is found inside the box is unity. Then we'll consider integral of 0 to L psi into psi dx equals to 1. That implies a square integral 0 to L sin square of n pi x by L dx equals to 1. A square into integral 0 to L 1 minus cos of 2 n pi x by L by whole by 2 into dx equal to 1. We will get A equal to root of 2 by L. Then the energy of the particle 8 pi square me by h square equals to k square, and then we will get En equal to k square h square by 8 pi square m, and k equals to n pi by L. We will substitute this in the En, then we will get En equal to n square h square by 8 pi L square. For each value of n, there is an energy level and the corresponding wave function is given by equation psi n of x equals to A into sine of n pi x by L. Each value of En is called as eigenvalue and corresponding psi is called wave function. Thus, inside the box, the particle can only have discrete energy values specified by the equation. Particle cannot have zero energy. Thank you.